CNN safety analyst and former FAA safety inspector David Susi joins me now. Good to see you, David. As Boeing, apparently, they've got a deal, right, with its striking workers. The deal is tentative. But how crucial was it for Boeing to get this done? And how much do you believe it's already compromised the airline?
Well, I think the airline was already compromised even before this started, but for the last month, it's been devastating to the airline. I mean, they've shut down production lines. It's so important that Boeing get everybody back to work, and they made that compensation. I think it's a good package for the employees, and I hope they can put all this behind them and start really focusing back on the quality and the safety that needs to happen going forward.
Yeah, certainly the pay raise was something that those workers were looking for, and Boeing did come to the table with most of what they wanted. You know, when we talk about Boeing, though, in general, I think in many ways it is too big to fail, right? It supports more than 1.5 million jobs in America. That's directly and indirectly. But I guess the point is some may not realize how important Boeing actually is to the global aviation industry.
Absolutely. And not only the global aviation industry, which it has its feet in everything across from small airplanes to large airplanes to drones to everything that flies. Boeing is part of every single part of that. But as well, the U.S. defense is reliant on Boeing. The U.S. Defense Department is at least 50% of what Boeing does. And that is incredibly important to keep just for our safety in the U.S. as well, and for other foreign allies that we supply that material to. So it's not just about commercial airplanes. It goes much deeper than one might think on the surface.
Yeah, and you would agree, though, that despite its troubles, that Boeing has a good shot of turning itself around. It may take, what, at least a few years?
Yeah, I think so. Earlier in another interview, I mentioned the fact that it could take a generation to turn things around at Boeing just because of the attitude and the safety culture and those sorts of things. That doesn't mean that they can't produce good aircraft between now and then. What my point is on that is that it may take a few years to get to that place where we're producing aircraft reliably and the public has confidence in Boeing. So that's more what I was referring to there. But as far as them being able to turn this around, I believe firmly they have the right CEO to do this. They've already put furloughs in place for the executives at Boeing. So there's some of the Boeing executives have reached out to me, and they're taking 1 week off a month right now as a rotation to try to reduce costs and focus their efforts on the production and the quality on the line. I think they're in the right direction. They have the right people in place, and the plan is sound. I really believe that this will be resolved within a year or two, and we'll start seeing that confidence rise once again.
And front of mind for everyone, obviously, is safety. Are you gaining more confidence that when Boeing does turn this around, that a lot of the nagging safety issues will be resolved, and they've arisen really from the production line?
Yeah, I've been following the changes that they've made already, even before they had this finding of the 400 million and what's going on with the fraud and what has happened in the past. Even before all of that, they put some people in the right places that I think can make this happen. And it's transparency is what amazes me the most. Right now, Boeing, you can see from the person that's sweeping the floors on the machine shop all the way up to the executives, they know what they're trying to do, how they're trying to get there, and what they're supposed to do to contribute to that. I did not see that at Boeing when I did those investigations several years ago. Airbus had an edge on Boeing. Now what I see is that that Boeing has really learned a lot from that process of line of sight to the goal, to the objective, and I'm seeing a major turnaround on the floor at Boeing right now.
And Dave, to put a fine point on it, how important is it for global aviation going forward? There is a lot of growth that a lot of airlines want to do right around the world. Boeing needs to deliver planes. That's the bottom line, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Those planes have to move forward. The important part about that production line, though, is that they stopped doing the traveling. And traveling means that as the airplane goes through production, they would say, well, I can't get this part in time, so we're going to go ahead and move it to the next phase of production, and we'll have travelers go ahead and put those parts on later. They don't do that now. They're working more on making the product line efficient, making sure the parts are there on time so that it can continue to move through. But there's no question in my mind now with Boeing that if it doesn't get through that phase 100% complete, it will not go to the next phase. But as we see this producing and as we see them improving, you'll see that that production line flows smoothly and continues to flow and doesn't have to have those travelers in the future.
Well, in terms of safety, I'm sure everyone is glad to hear that you do sense some optimism and that things are turning around at Boeing. David Susi for us, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.